The NBA has been really fun this year because of the new faces and new teams at the top. Mm-hmm. Like last year, you were really high on the Cleveland Cavaliers all throughout the course of the year. And then we saw them kind of
punched in the face in the playoffs.
Butter down the end.
Yep.
They're sitting at second in the East right now.
They're the hottest team in basketball right now.
They have been outstanding since the calendar turned to 2024.
24-2, I believe.
It's been stunning, and they've made up that ground and taken a 1-game lead over the Milwaukee Bucks, who've been sputtering, but finally got their first marquee win in the Doc Rivers era against the Denver Nuggets last night, where they spanked them. But you look at just the top teams in the East and West. You got Cleveland, which is a bit of a surprise. You have the Knicks at a 4 seed in the
and they have a
East.
Ton of injuries right now with OG Anunoby and Mitchell Robinson.
And
elbow surgery.
Julius Randle
separated shoulder, and Mitchell Robinson ankle.
Orlando's been a great story this year, as has Indiana, which we saw in the play-in tournament. Have great success and end up finishing
getting
second.
There. Yeah,
but you then look at there's some disappointments too. I mean, Miami, which you are doing your victory laps on, huge disappointment. As have the Philadelphia 76ers by injury luck, being
Joel Embiid,
a huge one.
Yes, and the Hawks are. Ugh.
But then you look at the East, the top two teams, or in the West, the top two teams in the West are the Minnesota Timberwolves and Oklahoma City Thunder.
It's the new era. We're finally starting to see the changing the guard as Steph Curry is aging out. Damian Lillard moves to the East. LeBron James is going to be 40 in December. You just kind of look around and you're like, oh, the Suns are old. They're great, but they're old. The Pelicans can't stay healthy. The Nuggets are hanging on by a thread when it comes to injuries, and Jamal Murray left last night's game against the Bucks with shin splints. And look, as talented as Jokic is, right now he's the favorite for MVP with Joel Embiid going down. You look at the West, and it's the Clippers.
Giannis has been playing out of his mind.
Giannis has been insane. He's been more efficient. Turns out having Damian Lillard next to you is super helpful for your efficiency.
Who has not been as efficient.
No, and that's the scary thing is if he starts putting it back together, which we usually see down the stretch of the season, that's when he starts playing his best basketball. The Clippers are finally healthy, and look, the James Harden thing, we all kind of laughed at it. He has fit in seamlessly. He has shut up and dribbled, and they have been very good. Kawhi Leonard is a top 3, top 4 MVP candidate right now. He is playing the best basketball maybe of his career at 32 years old, which nobody saw coming because of the health stuff. But you've got the Timberwolves, who the Portland Trailblazers take on tonight and will probably beat the living crap out of the Blazers. And the Thunder, who have last year's number 2 pick, Chet Holmgren, is like the 4th most responsible player on a given night. But SGA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, is probably number 2 right now in MVP balloting.
And what Minnesota's doing is really incredible.
Turns out it was a good trade.
This thing, you see what they did last night? The numbers behind what they did last night. Last night
beat the brakes off the Clippers.
So they've had their last 2 games. They played the Bucks and the Clippers. They beat the Bucks by 24. They beat the Clippers by 21. Okay? This is Opta Stats put this out. There have been 778 instances in an NBA regular season of a team playing consecutive games on the road against teams 15 games or more over 500. The Timberwolves are the only one of those 778 to win by 20 points or more. It's happened 778 times that a team has gone on the road and played 2 teams 15 games over 500. They beat both of them twice by 20. That's the only time it's ever happened. They're answering at every turn, the Minnesota Timberwolves are. Like, they are impressive. And I love, just a couple of weeks ago, you had their coach just absolutely roasting his team, saying
Chris Finch eviscerated them, calling them, what was it? It was a joke of a game when they chased stats.
Yeah.
And Karl Anthony Towns' career high, where they fell apart down the stretch.
He's pushing the right buttons because they've responded in kind to that criticism. But to your question of which teams do I trust the most, like coming down the stretch, the Clippers are a great story, and Harden has been outstanding. I will not believe a James Harden, Russell Westbrook team in the playoffs. And Paul George.
Yeah, you have the 2 biggest playoff choke artists ever.
I will not trust that team.
But you also have one of the most clutch guys ever.
I will not trust that team in the playoffs. I mean, I have got a decade's worth of body of work here to tell me Harden and Westbrook will shrivel in that moment. Paul George will call himself playoff P, and they'll fall on their face. And Kawhi Leonard will be, everybody's going to be like, man, I can't believe with as well as Kawhi Leonard played, the Clippers still lost. We will have that conversation. I know it's going to happen. And if it doesn't happen, great for the Clippers. Steve Ballmer is a lunatic, and he deserves a parade. It'll be a very sad parade, just like the Rams parade was. It'll be very sad.
But it'll be a parade nonetheless heading into his new building next year.
So I'm not trusting them in the West. I trust the Oklahoma City Thunder, though.
The teams that I trust right now are, number one, the Thunder.
And Dallas, too.
Well, they're terrifying because of Luka. Luka's playoff numbers are unreal. As much as I trust Denver because they have the best player in the world in Jokic right now, Jamal Murray's injury history and their lack of depth is something that I raise my eyebrows at because they did not make a move at the trade deadline. I thought they would. And you see Jamal Murray come out of the game last night with shin splints, and he's just a guy who he's injured. Just counting him missing games. It is what it is. That's how this goes sometimes with some guys. Just make sure he's good in the playoffs because he has the largest discrepancy between regular season and playoff points per game in NBA history. He is a bleepity bleep in the playoffs.
He's a mofo.
When it's winning time, there's not many better. It's incredible what he does. But you do have to worry about his health. And so I kind of, we'll see how that looks. The Thunder, as young as they are and as much as they go against the grain, I think that they're going to end up in the Western Conference Finals because SGA is probably the second best player in the league right now.
Chet is getting better and he's getting more comfortable.
And he's the third or fourth most important guy on that team because Jalen Williams is all NBA. All NBA, not all star. He is all NBA caliber. He is incredible. I don't know if you guys watched the Thunder play the Blazers. When Jalen Williams came, that game went sideways because of the technical fouls. Jalen Williams was a dude down the stretch, hitting mid-range running pull-up after mid-range running pull-up, also known as playoff shots, and that's what he does. You look at his stats, you look at what he's done in his short time in the league, that is his shot. That is a playoff caliber shot. That is half-court offense shooting. And they have so many guys on that team that are stepping into roles. They're going to lose eventually. There's never been a young team that's won it all. They can get to the finals. 2012, we had the Thunder get there. And then they fall apart against the Heat. Because they're just too young. The Thunder, again, could get there. If they were the West representative, it would not shock me. But whoever they play, they will likely lose to because nobody young has ever won.
I think the most terrifying part about them, too, is 36 draft picks remain.
They have all the capital to go
whatever
they one star they want to go get.
They can go and find a player in this offseason that will truly make them a title contender.
The team in the East, though? The team in the East that I still trust the most?
Milwaukee.
Yes.
Me too. How long do you think till Doc's imprint is finally taken? Because I'm going through it and I'm going, but we're seeing it right now. They have one. I mean, it's really one game that we can kind of point to. Last night.
They're starting to. I know it's so dumb. They're turning that corner, and I've talked to people around the team and around the league, and I have been told flat out, Doc is calling out dudes in video sessions. You're not doing X. If you want to win, you will do X. If you don't, fine. I don't care. Go out there and get embarrassed. But you came here to win a title. You all are here to come to win a title. And if you're not going to do what you need to do to win that,
look, that's really funny too, because that's kind of the thing that Doc was criticized for in LA with the Clippers was not holding guys to the fire like that. No. He was always the, hey, if you want to win a title, we've got to do this. But he was not decisive in putting the hammer down on his guys like apparently he is now.
Yeah, I've been told that everyone up and down the roster has been called out. Giannis, Dame, Middleton, Lopez, Beasley, doesn't matter. No one has been immune to call-outs. And a pecking order has been established, and you're going to do X if you want to get Y. And I think you're starting to see it. Now, we'll see how it gets there. I believe in the top-end talent, and the top duo, for me, is Dame and Giannis. Because if they figure it out, and that's the thing is they have not figured it out yet. If they figure this out, they are unstoppable on the offensive side of the ball. There's nothing you can do with it.
They have the 7th best record in the league this year. And they've been a complete disaster.
And they've been screwing around. That's how good the talent is. For everybody sitting there screaming, what about Boston? What about Boston? I have no faith in Jason Tatum. And it's nothing against him. I think he's a tremendous player. He's dynamic as hell.
You do have a little edge with Tatum.
I just don't
like
trust
Tatum.
him. I don't trust him because he
Tatum.
doesn't get any rim pressure.
I agree. I think they're a regular season team, though. They're built regular season wise. They're gritty. And Missoula does a really good job with them, getting them for 82.
I've never seen a more talented guy not resonate like he should.
But it's not. I think it's beyond Tatum in that. Like, they didn't have anybody that could dribble last year in the playoffs.
And they went and got Kristaps Porzingis, who can't dribble.
Or play in the playoffs.
And Drew Holiday, as good as
hurt.
he is not a rim pressure guy. Like, it's just Derek White, not a rim pressure guy. And so you've got all these phenomenal players.
Jaylen Brown can't dribble.
Literally can't dribble with his left hand to create for himself.
It's wild.
So it's very interesting to kind of see where the NBA is right now. What does that look like come April? Whether it's injuries or coming together or figuring some things out. I think it's going to be really interesting. The Warriors have won 5 games in a row. Clay, Dre, and Steph are playing really well. I still think they're not going to figure it out.
What's going on with Utah, though? Like, they pummeled Utah last night. Utah looks like a team that did, like, they were looking for a boost at the deadline, and when it didn't happen, they
sold off.
Uh-oh.
They sold off, and this is a team that sold off the last couple of years. And there's been some pushback behind the scenes of like, this is kind of like a puppy mill. Like they're just churning out for profit in the sense of assets. And I've seen a lot of balance and back and forth between what the Blazers have done versus what the Jazz have done and kind of the internal feelings between both organizations. And I think both have their merits, but you have to be willing to deal with stuff for both sides of them, which is kind of where I want to go next with this. The Jonathan Givney has put out his wait, the 2024 draft class is not that bad, actually, article. And I want to dive into this because this is going to be what you are, as a Blazers fan, looking forward to over the next couple months, is as we are now a month away, essentially, from March Madness, kind of looking ahead to the NBA draft. That's the thing to look forward to if you're a Blazers fan right now.